Good morning, my dear student friends. In my previous class, I completed one lesson. The title of that lesson was Wangare Maathai's biography. Today, I'm going to teach another lesson, and the title of this lesson is Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish by Steve Jobs. You all knew who Steve Jobs was. He didn't need any introduction. He was the founder of Apple company. He worked as a CEO of Apple company. He started an animation company called Nexa. And there were many things about him. It was he who changed the face of personal computers and brought revolutionary changes in mobile technology, in mobile industry or mobile communication. The present lesson, Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish, was a speech delivered by Steve Jobs in the year 2005 at Stanford University. Before beginning this speech, he told the students that he was not a graduate. So, he decided to tell 3 stories to the students, and all these 3 stories were very, very important to the present generation. The 3 stories were, the first story was Connect the Dots. The second story was Love and Loss, and the third story was Death. So he divided his speech into 3 stories, and each story plays very, very important role and applicable to the present generation. The total summary of this lesson was Steve Jobs wanted to tell the ups and downs in the life are very common. Even Ratan Tata once said that if you look at your ECG, there will be ups and downs. Even Swami Vivekananda also said, problems are just like monkeys. If you fight against them, they will run away from you. If you frighten, they will frighten you more. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. So, what Steve Jobs, through this lesson, wanted to tell us was the ups and downs in life were very, very common. And that's what he wanted to tell to the present generation. But don't lose your confidence. Fight against the problems. And if you do so, you will become successful one day. So by telling these 3 stories, he would like to encourage confidence levels in the students so that they would become businessmen like him in the later part of their life. That's a whole summary of this speech. The first story of the lesson, the title of the story is Connecting the Dots. Now when you connect a dot after dot, what happens? It will become a big line, either forward or backward. Steve Jobs said his story began before he was born. His biological mother, I think you know the meaning of the word biological mother. Biological mother means a real mother. His real mother decided to give Steve Jobs for adoption. She put 2 conditions. Condition number 1, the adopted parents of Steve Jobs must be educated. That's condition number 1. Condition number 2, they must join Steve Jobs in a college. The adopted parents of Steve Jobs accepted these 2 conditions. Finally, Steve Jobs was adopted. As promised, his parents sent him to Reed College at the age of 17. In other words, at the age of 17, Steve Jobs joined Reed College. But somehow he was not able to adjust in that college. He was unable to adjust in the college because of two reasons. Reason number one, the fees of the college was as high as Stanford University. His parents were very poor and they were paying from their savings. So Steve Jobs didn't want to make use of his parents' savings. So he decided to quit the college. That was the reason number one. Reason number two was he didn't know the use of studying that course. He didn't know how that course would be useful to him in the later part of his life. He was in the confusion. So he left the college and vacated even the hostel also. He stayed with his friends. He used to sleep on the floor. Every Sunday he used to walk nearly 7 miles in order to get free food distributed at Hare Krishna temple. Later, somehow, he developed an interest in calligraphy. I think you know the meaning of the calligraphy. Calligraphy means nothing but typing different types or writing different types, etc. and etc. He developed an interest in that course, and Reed College was famous for calligraphy, so he joined in the course and studied calligraphy, but he didn't know how that course would be useful to him in the future part of his life or in the later part of his life. But the course helped him a lot. When he designed a Mac computer, he used the calligraphy knowledge which he got from Reed College in that computer. And the computer became, the Mac computer became totally different from other computers. And it became very, very popular only because of the calligraphy used by Steve Jobs. So people started buying that computer and he became popular. And he came to know that by connecting or joining dots, one day you will become successful. By telling the first story, connecting the dots, he wanted to tell the student that use every opportunity you have. Whatever opportunities you have, use them. Learn as many things as possible. Today they may not be useful to you, but tomorrow they will be useful to you. If you want to become successful in life, you have to be knowledgeable. If you want to do wonders in the world, you must be knowledgeable. So by telling the first story, he encouraged the students to learn as many things as possible and be knowledgeable. The second story of the lesson is love and loss. Here, love means passion or interest. Being human being, everyone has interest. Steve Jobs wanted to tell us, know your interest first. At the age of 20, he identified his interest. His interest was business. He wanted to become a businessman. With the help of one of his best friends, Oz, he started a company called Apple in his father's garage. Both of them, that is Steve Jobs and his best friend Oz, they worked very hard. Within 10 years, the company became very successful. The number of employees rose from 2 to 4,000, and the turnover of the company touched nearly $2 billion. All this was one side of the coin, but the other side of the coin was black. Steve Jobs was removed from Apple company, which he started. All the board of directors supported the newly appointed CEO rather than the founder of the company, Steve Jobs. As a result, Steve Jobs left Apple company. He became unemployed, he didn't know what to do, and he lost control on himself. But somehow he controlled himself and started two new companies. One is Next and second one is Flux. These two were the animated companies, and their product was cartoons. Toy Story was one of the cartoon came from Next, and the Toy Story became very popular cartoon in the world, and these two companies became very popular. Finally, Apple came forward to buy these two companies. They purchased these two companies from Steve Jobs, and they also requested Jobs to come back to Apple company. And finally, Jobs rejoined in Apple company. So by telling the second story, Steve Jobs wanted to tell us ups and downs in life were very common. But don't lose your confidence, don't lose your courage. Try and try till you get success. Speak to your heart, and whatever your heart says, follow it. If you want to become successful in life, listen to your heart, don't listen to others. That is what he wanted to tell to the students of Stanford by telling the second story, Love and Loss. The third story of the lesson is death. At the age of 17, he was influenced by one quotation, and the quotation is, if you live each day as if it was your last, someday you will most certainly be right. So if you think that today is your last day, one day it will become true. Every morning, standing in front of mirror, he used to ask himself a question. That is, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am able to do today? So if today is my last day, will I complete the assigned duties? That is what he used to ask himself. In the year 2004, he went to hospital and doctors examined him and told he was having pancreas cancer. A few days later, Jobs was admitted in the same hospital and doctor operated him. They removed cancer cells from his body. After recovery, Jobs said he saw death very closely. He said that nobody wanted to die. Even the person who would like to go to heaven don't want to die. But death is natural. Life will follow by death. If you are born, one day you have to die. And death is a wonderful creation of life. It makes a way to the new. It removes the old and replaces new. So your time on earth is very limited. So don't waste your time and don't waste others' time. Don't depend on others. Whenever there is a problem, speak to your heart and do what your heart says rather than taking opinions from others. So problems will come and go. They are very common in life. But don't lose your confidence, don't lose your courage. When he was young, he read a book published by The Whole Earth Catalog, written by Stuart Brand. On the cover page of the book, there was a painting. It was a lonely path on a countryside. There was a sunshine, etc. and etc. There was a quotation, stay hungry and stay foolish. It means that stay hungry means you must be hungry to learn the new things. You have the passion to learn new things. You have the desire to learn new things. That's about stay hungry. Stay foolish here means think differently. So, stay hungry, stay foolish means learn as many new things as possible. You must have the desire to learn new things, and you must be in a position to think differently. So the successful mantra of life is be knowledgeable and think differently. And if you have these two qualities, automatically you will become a successful person in the society. So practice these two things and be successful. And that's what Steve Jobs wanted to tell the students of Stanford in the year 2005 by his lecture, Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish.